Multiple deaths, I think is how you phrased it. What does that actually mean?
I was torn up, 3rd-degree burns, busted, femur sticking out, ribs, lungs punctured. Bad. What if I had not accepted that prayer from that gentleman that day, laying face down, after I had just been told I will never move, more than likely, anything from my shoulders down for the rest of my life?
Rather than punishment for everything, maybe it's just that push into purpose that you needed to start actually speaking the truth and helping other people see their possibility.
My saying of it, it's always too soon to quit. I've been saying it for 55 years. Once that's all taken away from you, and you're paralyzed from the shoulders down. I don't get real deep into it because I cry. I'm sorry.
We've tried to get together a couple times and that hasn't worked out. I know on your kind of show notes when I was reading through them, I know, you've overcome a lot of things. One of them that kind of stuck out to me the most was multiple deaths, I think is how you phrased it, which sounds bizarre. So I'd love to kind of start there if we could, and just what does that actually mean? How do I understand that?
3 times that I've died that I know I've been out of my body, I've been on my way somewhere, especially the 3rd time. And the 3rd time I really found faith. I was raised in faith. I was raised in the church. I went to Sunday school, perfect attendance. I believed all that. I was, confirmed into the Methodist church when I was the right age. We did all that. But my first couple of times I died, first time was in the Marine Corps. I spent a year in the Naval Hospital. And then the second time I was 4 years later, I had a drunk hit me, almost head on. He got killed, run over by his own truck. And, but I didn't have, I just thought I was lucky, and I was an extreme entrepreneur. I mean, I had multiple businesses going. And, at that age, at 22, 20 or 23, 24, that's just me. And, but it was when I died at 31 and a half, and through an explanation of prayer and faith and what happened, I can cover some of that, why that changed my life.
Yeah,
more.
If you could, let's jump right into it. I'd love to.
Things like that. So, but sure, I don't get into a lot of detail because I tend to, when I wrote my book that's coming out here in a couple of weeks, it was, meant to really help people learn how to find the strength within themselves, which is kind of the title of the book almost, to overcome the adversities, to overcome. Where do you find that strength? And there's a lot of people in your group that you go to that sometimes maybe it takes anger, maybe it's pain. And I don't mind telling people that there's a lot of places you can find, the strength to overcome the roadblock in front of you. Sometimes you're just mad as hell. But by God, today, Jim is going to get up and I'm going to go do something about that today. It's been bothering me for 6 years, and today is the day. And I'm mad as hell about it. And you go do it. And then tomorrow you go like, Mike, that's all it took. It took 6 hours or 4 hours and I was done with it. And here I've been concerned about it for 5 years. But sure, no, I'm willing to. I think the entrepreneurial thing is a big thing because it sounds like you've got several people that are interested in that or work with that, and because it's a whole different it takes a whole different mindset to be a true entrepreneur and work and be willing to take the risks and the adversities and the vision and so on. And a lot of people don't have that. They do for the first year. And as well as I do that 99.3% of the businesses that start go out of business in the first year. And 85% go out in the next 2 years. So it's like, if you last 3 or 4 years, you're one of the more fortunate. But you put a lot into it.
I think there's a lot to that about kind of owning your story and really just being who you are, right? There's a lot of people who get into business to start a business to make money, which is, it's okay. But I think the people who are truly successful are doing business as an extension of themselves, right? They're not putting on a different version of themselves to go to work and then home and then with their friends and with their self.
Right.
Don't have the 5 different versions. It leads to burnout and stress and all the things that people want to avoid.
Well,
And I think
the
that people who, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you said they get into business to make money, that's the worst scenario. In my mind, it's going to be 76, and I have worked corporate. I mean, 35, 40 years ago, I was handling 100 and 200 and 300 million a year for the 5th largest corporation in America, and I'm a high school graduate. But what the problem is, it's just like becoming an entrepreneur. If you can find it, and I'll mention it, identify a service or a product or something but I'll get into it a little bit if you want. But do it for that reason. Do it for the quality. Do it to help. Do it to provide. And if you do it with that intent in your mind, all the accolades, all the finances, they take care of themselves.
Right.
And a lot of people do not understand that. It's about the buck. It's about, I made a sale. I made a sale. Don't worry about the sale. If you do your job for other people, and I've got an old thing I've said for years. I've said to is, the more people, I truly believe, the more people you help, the better person you become. And that's what you're doing, is helping somebody by being an entrepreneur or in any business. What you're doing is helping other people.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, to bring it back to the faith component, for a lot of people that feels scary because it's out of your control. Right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to have the control over, hey, I can hustle and grind and go do all these things because then I'm going to know the definite outcome of it. And that obviously, again, leads to a spot that is not a great place to be. But if you have the faith and you do pursue your purpose and walk in who you are, you tend to get that much better, more resilient result. Right. And I think that you've kind of seen the same thing through your experiences.
I believe so. And I believe if you're raised with it, I was raised with all of the, let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's make sure it's complete. Let's go back and double check it. If you're raised with that or see that, and then whatever I was raised with, the Marine Corps pounded into your head even more so. And make sure that it's correct. Make sure you're doing it for the right purpose. Have the faith. You know you can do it. It's a mindset. And things tend to take care of themselves a lot, I think. But if you're raised with it, but if you come from a broken house and drugs and doing this and doing all that, you're not going to have any self-confidence at all. And then you're still going to reach out. And I think those are the people that tend to, I've seen 3 or 4, 5, I've worked with a couple and I've helped them out. And it's been, you can't do that. You just got to stop it. And if you don't stop it, if it takes me walking away, I'm gone. Because I can't continue to mentor or help you if you can't help yourself. So that's the big thing.
Let me push back on that a little bit. Because one of the things that I have seen is the people who sometimes grow up in an environment or in a culture that normalizes that too heavily, they kind of rely on it. And let me bring an analogy to it. In sport, if you are super talented or gifted at playing a sport, that's going to take you very far, up until the point where you get to a certain level where everyone is equally talented.
Yes.
Then the thing that separates you is the grit, the work ethic, the thing that you have
to
the
grit, the work ethic. Yes, 100%.
Right. So one of the things that I see a lot of times is people who grow up in this situation where it's just normal, it's every day. They don't understand. They don't have that level to kind of tap into. Right. It's not a do or die scenario. Whereas the person who maybe grows up without it, they grow up in a bit of a broken home. They grow up in a situation without that, where they need to tap into that extra level, because then now for them, they want to kind of break that generational curse. They want to be the one to push a little bit further. So it gives them that chip on their shoulder. Right. And I think if they understand, hey, it's possible for you too, like, let's show you the way. And that's a major reason why I even do this show, is to give that person hope that says, hey, even if you're in this scenario, good. That's a better platform to start from, because you understand the importance and you're going to really actually put your all into it, because you understand what's at stake if you don't.
I don't disagree with you at all. And the chip on your shoulder is a very important fact of something I used to do when hiring people. But I didn't have anything given to me. I got nothing. My parents, I came off a very large working farm. Uh, I, I got nothing. I started out feeding calves when I was 5 years old. I was selling seeds and selling gourds when I was 8 years old. I started a business selling things to the grocery stores. I was doing that, but I had to ride my bike. I got nothing. Nothing. And I asked my dad, and it's like one time I went to my dad, I was about 11 or 12, and I said, "Hey, Dad," I said, Jim's dad's paying him 25 cents an acre or an hour to disc or plow or whatever they were doing for farm work. I said, "What do you think? Do you think I could?" And he says, "And there's absolutely not. You have a good clothes in your back, good food in your stomach, a good roof over your head. This is a family operation. We do it to help each other. Period." So everything I've ever had, I've had to work for and earn. And I've run into the steps, and it's like it pisses me off. And what can I do about it? What can I have seen? What have I seen succeed? Why didn't I do that? Or what is it that I failed at? So yeah, it's a good conversation. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of and some of the people that you're mentioning can do it, and some can't do it. But I never got anything for free. Nothing. My parents I was 8th generation on this farm. And now the 10th generation is up there. So that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a good point there too about that kind of running into adversity part. Whether it's comparison, looking at, hey, there maybe is another opportunity that seems better in the moment, so you might want to shift into that, or you run into a roadblock that feels like you want to give up. Like, where do you get the perspective to then overcome that adversity, and kind of, do you just fall back into your purpose? Like, how do you move forward in that?
I believe that I get a lot of it from having fought for my life totally and fought through to live. And I think that I fall back on that a lot, or I did from the age of 19 on. Until then,
so it gives you some perspective.
Well, I will tell you people this when on the show. I will say, you have a different respect for life. You have a different respect and understanding of what you can provide and help with, and so on and so forth. In time, you have a different perspective of time if you ever had the opportunity to die and come back, or come back from a very, very serious thing that you should have died from. If you do that at a certain age, I didn't have it at 19. It didn't affect me. I don't think. I really don't. And when I was 23, it didn't. I mean, I knew I was lucky. I did blah, blah, blah. I took it what it was, and I moved on forward. I was very, progressive in my entrepreneurial pursuits. But it was 31 and a half that really hit me. And it hit me because of prayer. It hit me because of what happened, things that were said. And I don't mind talking about them. I don't get real deep into it because I cry. I'm sorry. I spent, when I wrote the book, I had to go back and remember some of the stuff from the Marine Corps. 56 years ago, November 12th is when I died my first time. And it took a lot. I spent over half a century trying to forget that. And the lady that was with me and the other Marine I was taken back to base to help to begin with, and his wife, the top of her head was taken off and the spare tire ripped out. She was burned. She ripped up all her female parts, sliding over the gear shift, and she was in a coma 18 months and died. And she was 18 years old. And I carry that guilt with me every day of the week. Every day I think about it. And her parents, when they were alive, or Roy's parents, they were always so thankful that I was trying to save Roy's life, the other Marine, Stitz. And they never held anything against me. I mean, it was always because the cars behind us said if we hadn't hit the semi that was pulled across the road that had no lights, no markers, no nothing else, and blown up and burned, they would have hit it. So it was just, I happened to be first in line. That was it. But it's a different perspective. It's hard to explain 76 years of life in 45 minutes.
No, of course.
Well, but
So
that's why when I've talked to several people, that's why they want to come back again at some point and talk about a different, like, get more into the entrepreneurial side of it, or what else have you done? And I do, and I didn't, Jim, I want to tell you, because I've listened to you, and I've listened to you on as a guest and a podcaster, and it's yourself, Rory, Kevin, with Talk Radio out of Seattle. You have a little different perspective to it. And I have changed the way I've looked at things since I've been a podcast guest, because I've been digging more into my thought pattern and what is it? What did really make Jay tick? And writing the book took me a year to dictate it, and then it was written, but it really does. It makes you think a lot more than what normal. And you've done enough podcasts that you see that and you think about it. You look at it from different perspectives, but everybody's a different individual, and but you go ahead, you do whatever you got.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it is really kind of understanding each person's story, right? And that, to me, that's what this platform is for, is to have conversations that kind of just go back and look at, hey, what is the story that each of us kind of walk through and figure out? Because in the moment, it feels like the most awful thing ever. And for me, I'll go based on my own experience. Like the first, 27 years of my life, I thought I was, top of the world. I was Midas. I literally, whatever I could touch turned into gold. I could sell anything. I could do anything. I could buy anything. I had just unlimited access to whatever I wanted. And it was super fun. And then I had my no half cake moment, and then the world fell apart. And I felt like everything before that was a lie, and it crushed everything I believed about myself. I had to really start over. And there's so much more to that I can't get into in this context of this conversation, but it took me years to figure out that instead of like hiding that from shame, leaning into that and understanding like, hey, those are the things that actually built you and gave you the platform to now go out and help other people. They gave you the perspective. Like, to me, that's what I think this platform is for, is to give people an opportunity to share their story. Because what happens when someone like you or me sit down and have that conversation is the person listening to this says, hey, maybe my story is actually meant to shape me, not shame me, right? It gives them that possibility to lean in and say, hey, yeah, cool. I went through a difficult thing too. I'm going to own it instead of hiding from it. Because now that gives them permission to live their full life in who that they were called to be. Right. So I love the fact that you're here and you're owning this, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. But if you could share some of that story for us and kind of how it shaped your faith and kind of what made that third experience. And I can't even believe you have 3 of them. Most people never have that once. But like, how did that third experience for you teach you? You said it gave you faith. Like, I'd love to understand a little bit more about that story in general.
Not a problem. And I'll go there. And you did it at 27. I was 31. Virtually, like you said, everything I touched or did. I mean, if I wanted to do it, I just put my mind to it and I went and did it. That was it. And at 31, it's different from like the Marine Corps issue was I was torn up, 3rd degree burns, busted, femur sticking out, ribs, lungs punctured, bad. But you could see it, and that will heal. When you have a broken neck and things are multiple broken neck, four vertebrae, and drowned, it's a whole different thing, because I can't see what's the matter with you inside you. You look normal. What's the deal here? But it's internal. It's like a stroke. It's in your head. It's a brain, or a heart attack. Excuse me. And that was a defining moment, I think, that I look back and could I overcome something that they told me I will never move from the shoulders down. You will. The chances are they're so minuscule it's not going to happen. And so that's where my faith came in. That's where my faith prayer, the belief in myself, and in going back and looking at what I had overcome in the past, a decade before, I reached back and grabbed that, and it gave me the strength. It's kind of maybe what it did to you. You didn't change everything about your life at the no half cakes moment, but you realized there were certain things you could let go and certain things that strengthened you. And what did you learn from that? And what could you use? So
100%. So paint the picture for me of what that experience was like in full, if you could.
which one? From the third time?
Yeah.
The third time was when I drowned. I don't remember anything from I call it it's like the inside of a tornado, a vortex is what I call it. But when I first came to, or when I was I'd been in the hospital. I can't tell you 3, 4, 5 days. I asked my ex-wife and she said, Jay, I don't remember. It was a while, but she was down in front of me. I was in a circle bed. I had bolts in my skull and traction. And she said there was a gentleman there, that would like to say a prayer for me. And his name was Tom Cooper. And I just remember that because I talked to Tom after. But anyhow, she said, if it's okay, would I blink my eyes a couple of times? Because I was paralyzed. I had nothing. And he prayed that I would be able to walk, that I would be able to move, that I would have the courage and the fortitude. And she had told him a little bit of what she knew about me from the months that we had been together. And he came and saw me quite a bit. And then he went to a church that had about 5,000 people in it. And so he went to every service with 12, 13, 1,500 people and asked for prayer for me, and which they did. And my mom through her church and so on and so forth. And it seemed like, and I'm an overachiever by a long way. I'm a overdoer. And no matter how hard I worked during the week, every day of the week and beyond and more in what they wanted me to do, it seemed like on Sundays I got more back than any other day of the week. And it was like the prayer, the echoes going into heaven, came down and blessed me that day. Like here, I'd maybe try to move my hand this is the only hand I got that worked. My left hand works. My wrist is fused. My elbow, everything else is gone. But and then everything else is, my shoulder works so I can flip my arm, but that's it. But I think that I've asked myself, Jim, a million times, what if I had not accepted that prayer from that gentleman that day, laying face down, after I had just been told that I will never move more than likely anything from my shoulders down for the rest of my life. And I think that if I had rejected that prayer, it would have been like denying God. That's my opinion. And it's pretty well proved true if you think about it, in my opinion. And I went from that to talking to people throughout the hospital, the rehab center, which was attached to a huge hospital, and getting them to set goals and helping other people and performing. And I walked out. I didn't walk out well, and I walked out with a halo cast bullet in my skull, leg braces on, and crutches, and tears pouring down my face. And then I had to go back quite a bit, more. But having achieved that, it just changed my perspective on life. It just changed my perspective on what it really takes from the heart and from God. And my mother and dad came and visited me once, and I'll talk about it. I'll say it. It's I was probably in the rehab about 2 months, and I was doing pretty decent, really. But she said, but I told my mom, I said, why me? Why me? And I didn't say it bad, like, what did I do? It was more like, I'm not a bad person, Was I mischievous? Did I ever throw an outhouse in the lake? Yes, I did. Did I ever drag race and drink before I was old enough? Yes, I did. I was mischievous, but I was never a problem. I was never anything like that. So why Jay? And she said, Jay, you jumped in the pool. You jumped in the pool. God helped pull you out. God helped direct that young lady to try finding what the problem was and then put the other young man in to help her bring you back to the surface after 7 or 8 minutes. You'd already drowned. You were dead. But God helped pull you out of the pool. God is what's doing this for you. And then she got me the book written by Rabbi Cushman. It's called Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And it's not a very big book. It's pretty quick. And there was one sample in there that gave me what the answer was to me. And I relate to that. I can, and I don't mind. And I tell that story too on occasion. It's just very brief, but I think that's what it is. I think that there's a lot of reflection. I've never reflected like I did. I had a gentleman up with talk radio asked me if I reflected back, and we talked about it afterwards because when we came back from his commercial break, he forgot to ask me, and he asked me later. I said, you know what? It took me a while to reflect, and I didn't reflect then as much as you do when you get older. It's like, how much more mature have you become since you realized no half cakes happen? It's like things change in your life. And I reflect back, and I did so much, and I always believed in having 3 or 4 projects at one time. I believed in delegating. I believed in moving forward. I believed I could handle it. I multitask. I'm ADHD big time, but I handle it. I'm PTSD, but I handle it. I direct those efforts at doing something and accomplishing something. And by doing so, I could do so much that once that's all taken away from you and that you're paralyzed from the shoulders down, now what are you going to do? Changes the whole concept of your life. And I know I walked and I did pretty good for about 16 or 17 years, and I had more brainstem surgeries, and I've had over 6 dozen surgeries. And but when I had my brainstem surgeries, oh gosh, that's been 25, 26 years ago now, it put me on a walker. And I had to learn to walk again. I was on a walker for 17 years. Now I've been in a wheelchair for about 8 years because it just keeps progressing. I've got plugs in my neck and things that don't never, it is what it is. And if you can accept that too, that's a big thing. Do what you can do and do it your best, otherwise.
What was the answer that you found in that book?
What it was real quick. It was the one little story is about a woman that's got a child that's, let's just say 8, 9 months old, little toddler, little crawling around, and the baby's on the table, crawling around a little bit next to a window that's open, and she's cooking and working in the kitchen, small kitchen, and the window, like I said, the window was open, and the baby got too close to the window, fell out the window. They were 5 or 6 stories up. The baby falls to the ground, dies. Okay. And the question is why didn't God put his hand out and save that child? The child hadn't done anything wrong. The child didn't do anything, wasn't a bad person, obviously. And the answer is way before the child was born, way before humanity, God created, or a greater being, if you will, created gravity. So the baby just didn't crawl out the window and float like Superman could. It fell to the ground. So if anybody's fault, it's the mother's fault for not having taken care of things. So that gave me and kind of echoed back the thing like my mom said. I jumped in the pool. It was God that spoke to somebody to have them jump in and see what my problem was, and could they bring me up because I was changing colors because I was dead. So I correlate the two together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say there, and what I've been hearing you say, especially when you talk about like, hey, yes, did I throw an outhouse in the lake, which I'm sure must have been fun at the time? Did you drag race, whatever, right? The other stuff. Like, I think a lot of people tend to look at, hey, why did this happen to me, as if it's punishment. And I
I
think
never
one
looked
of
at it
the,
like that. Never
well,
looked at it like that.
would you not then say, if your initial thoughts were, yes, maybe you did some quote unquote bad things earlier, right? Whether it was the outhouse, like the drag racing, etc. Would this thing happen to me because of anything I've done, quote unquote, bad? Is really what I was driving at.
I
So, kind of the perspective that I'm looking for is, a lot of people tend to think, I am a good person. Am I being punished for whatever I've done? I thought I've done the right job. And what I think a lot of people need to look at, instead of, hey, is this thing happening to me as a punishment for not being good enough, or for sinning, or for whatever else? Maybe it's just a push into your purpose. Maybe it's to help motivate you to step into who you were designed to be in the first place, rather than punishment for everything. Maybe it's just that push into purpose that you needed to start actually speaking the truth and helping other people see their possibility. And I think that, to me, is what I see from it. Not, hey, I'm going to punish you for this thing that you did wrong, but to help kind of move you forward into this thing that you were called to be, that maybe you've been denying.
if anything, it maybe help push me into what I was supposed to do, but I didn't look at it as punishment because I had already been dead twice before. If I was going to be punished, I would have been punished when I was 23 because that's when I did it, not 8 years later. I mean, I was helping and doing and growing and uh, succeeding in good manners, and was way past my days of being raucous at all, and and it had been several years. It had been 8 years since I had died my second time. So that was more, but like I said, I didn't look at it as a why me, woe is me kind of thing. I never looked at it like that. I looked at it more as a, what did I do? I mean, it just keeps happening and happening and happening. And then, I mean, I should have died 18, 19, 20 years ago from MRSA staph. Only about 15, 20% of the people ever lived through it. And I'd already was in bad shape physically compared to a normal person when I got it. And they could never find the problem. They sent me home with a PICC line in my heart with medication for another couple of months. But I made it through it. And they couldn't believe that either. And then I had COVID. Right now, I was in my fourth hospital in 5 months. It started 1st of September, and 4 years ago, I was, 21. And I was so bad when they took me in. My wife had it, took ivermectin, was over it in 5 days, done. The week and a half later, she says, hey, let's get you checked out. And I didn't feel bad. I mean, I've been in such bad condition for so many years, I never thought about it. But I was very positive. Had a 62% blood oxygen level, 20 points below a major heart attack. And they said, the doctor that sent us to the emergency said, I don't know that you'll make it. My wife was crying her eyes out. And when we got there, they basically told her to go home and make funeral arrangements. That was on a Monday. They didn't think I'd make it to the weekend.
Wow.
So
that was
that was 4
years
years ago. 4 years ago. 4 years ago, right now, I was in my fourth hospital. And I spent 5 months in hospitals from COVID. And it reparalyzed me. It drained me out inside. My excuse me, my right lung was torn real bad. I've had punctured lungs. I've drowned. So that's why I cough a little bit, but it's morning, and I tend to cough a little bit in the morning, and then I'm okay the rest of the day. But I made it through. And when I came home, I mean, they put me in what they call a Hoyer lift. They had to roll me to my right in my hospital bed in my bedroom, and roll me back to the left and put a pad under me, and then they take it and they hook it up here, and then they jack it up and lift you up like pulling a motor out of a car. And then they would push me into my big roll-in shower that I had done, and we were home builders too, so we did that not for that purpose, but that's what we had for a shower. And they'd have to set me down. I could shower myself a little bit, but they have to pick me up, set me on the toilet, pick me back up off the toilet. I mean, it was a bitch, and I fought it for months, 3, 4 months, 5 months, and finally one day it's in my book. I told the lady that was helping me as a caretaker through aid and attendance through the VA, just close the door, and unless I'm screaming for the EMS or something, let me go. And pull my scooter up next to the bed, but I'm going to get out of bed and get on my scooter. And I fought it, and I had the railing and stuff and all that. And I fought it, tears, sweat, everything. And I got to the scooter, and I never went back again. Get rid of the Hoyer lift. I'm done. And until I had to do it. I had to do that, and that's what it took to do it. But it's kind of like when the only arm I got, like I said, the only body part I've got that works is my left arm. And when I go out and I pull some real heavy rubber bands on my back porch, and I've done in the last 2 months I've done 13,910 and different exercises with it. But I always do one more and one for the core, Marine Corps. It's kind of a thing I've had. But if you do 1,000 sets and you do one more and one for the core at the end, you've done 2 more. So if you've done 1,000 sets, you've done 2,000 more exercises that you didn't get included. That how long would it have taken you to do another 2,000? So
Yeah.
it's a mindset that you won't quit. Just dig deep. I got tears leak out sometimes. I'm struggling so hard, but it hurts. It's painful. It tears up the rest of my body, but I got a left arm that I'll arm wrestle a lot of people. You know, I'll probably break my wrist because it's fused and pinned and rotted, but hey, I'll give it the effort.
Yeah.
So, but
What is it you think that still pushes you forward to do that, though? I feel like for quote unquote most people who've been through what you've been through, a lot of people would kind of try and take it easy or coast or maybe take pity on themselves. But I don't see that from you. I see you as someone who's continuing to push and to never give up and to just not quit. So where does that come from for you every day?
My saying of it, it's always too soon to quit. I've been saying it for 55 years, and I'm just not going to quit. I've got it so ingrained in my head, and I just think there again, it gets back to, I'm so thankful to be alive. I'm so thankful for the gift of life, for the gift of time. And most people don't understand that value, and until it's been taken away from them. That's the best answer I can give you, I think.
Yeah. It's a thing I think about a lot because most people have a 100% success rate at waking up every day, right? Every day they've woken up and they're here. And I think, that leads a lot of people not to take it as intentionally because they just assume, hey, I've done it every day of my life so far. I will do it again tomorrow and into the foreseeable future. And they don't put that intentionality on this moment right now. Like there is not a promise that you or I are even going to make it to the end of this podcast, which sounds morbid to say, but it's a real possibility. Where do you suggest the average person learn that intentionality? How do you start becoming more intentional with every day, every minute of your life?
I think a lot of it is when every day I thank God for getting me through the day and what I've been through, and every day I think about the future and thank God for the future. And I go to bed like I say, thanking the Lord. I've been alive. You've helped me accomplish this today. We've been through this. And tomorrow I want to get this done and this done and this done. And I, I pray about it a little bit. I just do. I don't know. Not long. It doesn't take 20 minutes of sitting. But every day I get up, I'm always saying, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. And I do. I get out of bed saying that every day. Some days it's because I need the help and the pain is so bad, but it's God help me. Oh, God. And I do. I mean, I don't, I, my wife a long time ago asked me, you know, I need to go sleep somewhere else because every day you get up, you're going like, oh, God, oh, my Lord, oh, God, help me, God, help me, God, help me, God, help me. And then I get my one leg out and I get it swiveled around onto my scooter, and then I get my other leg swiveled out onto my scooter, and then I pull myself up and I do this and I do that. Oh, and the back pain is terrible. I've had 15 back surgeries and I'm terrible. And, and it hurts so bad through my lungs, my ribs, everything. But I thank God that I'm alive. The day that I get up and I feel no pain, I'm going to wonder if I'm really alive or not, because it's kind of his way of waking me up. It's like every day. And
Yeah.
that's the best I can tell you. I don't, it's something innate in me, and I think we all have something in each other. You came to that realization at no half cakes when you got home at 8:16, I think it was. I don't remember. I think it was.
Yeah.
And
8:45.
okay, well, it's pretty close, but
Yes.
you get, there's a certain thing that just did it that time. That's what happened. But I
Yeah.
don't know, Jim. I get up with the belief that God's got me here for a purpose, and that purpose is becoming more clear to me the last couple of years since I wrote the book. I wish I would have done it years ago, but then I would have missed out on a whole lot of stuff that needed to go in the book. And it's not a very long book, The Strength Within Me, or The Strength Within You, sorry. And It's Always Too Soon to Quit, the title of the book. And yeah, it's like I said, it's about dying, but it's more about what do you get out of it? Where do you go from, and what can you overcome with those items, and so on. And it made me think a lot. It really made me have a lot of retrospect that I've never done before. That digging back and thinking about 55 years ago, 56 years ago, dying, and what did I do? How did I pull myself through it? And a
Yeah.
lot of it is I just did it. And that's the problem. A lot of people don't. I used to have a sign above one of my desks that said, do it now, do it completely, and follow through. And that was what the boss said, do it now, don't put it off. And so every day getting up, I can't explain it any differently. It's just I'm sitting here thinking, what did I think this morning? I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for the breaths that I'm taking, for the ability to get into the shower, that I can slide off my scooter. I'm sitting in a big wheelchair now. I got head, all this, but I transferred into the wheelchair because it's easier at my desk. But that's all
Yeah.
I can tell you. I don't. I you, I don't know what someone would look at within themselves if they hadn't had something bad happen to them, or failures. Look into your failures. You can pull it out of anything. I mean,
Yeah.
or something that some good friend or a relative happened to them. What if that would have been me? Does it really bother you? If you've got a cousin that has cancer that's dying and having a bad time with it, do you really care? If you don't really care, it's not going to have much effect on you. If he was really close to you and you really cared about it, you really did, you're gonna feel something for that. You're gonna get something out of that and realize. And if you can look into his eyes or her eyes in the morning when they're crawling out of bed or when they're laying there with tears rolling down, where's the empathy? Not
Yeah.
sympathy. empathy? Do you understand where they're coming from? That they see the end of life. And I've looked at the end of life. I've been where I didn't see the end of life because I'd already been gone. But it's I don't know that I can explain it. I'm not a man of big
Yeah.
words.
I think one of the problems between empathy and sympathy, and this is a struggle point, I think a lot of people struggle with empathy because they can't necessarily understand fully what that's like without experiencing it. A lot of people are kind of caught up with whatever it is that's the most important pain in their lives. And while it sounds good, I think, in theory, to think about somebody else struggling with whatever that struggle might be, unless we've personally experienced what that is, we don't have a clue. And I think for us to sit there and pretend we do kind of diminishes the impact of whatever that person's going
Of
through.
what's happening.
Right.
Right.
So what I think kind of a good perspective here might be is for the person listening to this, maybe they don't have back pain when they wake up. Maybe they don't have a problem physically getting out of their bed. They're able to jump out of their bed and start their day. But maybe they think about the mortgage bill that has to be paid, or the laundry that has to be put away, or the sink full of dirty dishes. And they look at that compared to the house that they live in, the clothes that they have to wear, the food that they eat with their family.
Right.
And I think, sometimes they come through the day so numb because we want to avoid that because it's uncomfortable. We don't want to sit in that discomfort of thinking about the bills, the clothes, the whatever it is that you're going through in your life. Right? It could be physical pain, it could be mental pain, it could be whatever. But I think leaning into that and not numbing yourself out, but being aware of whatever that version of pain is for you and thanking God for it and saying, thank you, God, for giving this to me in my life, that I get to wake up today and go through this, that you've given me the breath in my lungs and the hope in my heart to go through this day. And that no matter what you put in front of me, I know we're walking through it together. Right. And to walk through that situation, knowing that you get to, that some people might not. Right. And again, whatever that is for you, it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be whatever. But understand that for you, you get to, and not taking that opportunity for granted, using it to say, dear God, I am so thankful for this opportunity to walk through this day, to listen to this podcast right now, to then take this moment to say, I am thankful for whatever it is that I have in my life, and use that as an opportunity to move forward with intentionality that you were given the gift of this freaking moment. Don't waste it. Don't let that moment just pass you by. Use it intentionally because you might not get another one. Right? You woke up on the wake up list. You're here. You're here right now. Use that opportunity because you might not get another one. And I think that is a beautiful message that people need to hear and really understand and take to heart. And Jay, I just want to thank you for being here and for sharing your story. This was a powerful one.
Well, on a comment, thank you for asking the questions you've asked and the conversation we've had. I don't have, from my perspective and what I've been through, I don't have an answer for that person that doesn't have pain and problems and this and that, but yet has the dishes to wash or the bills to pay or whatever. Maybe they should be thankful that they do have dishes to wash and bills to pay, because if they didn't, there's been nothing else accomplished either. It's kind of like, it's not that that's a punishment or a problem. It's just something they need to do to make it through life. But you've hit on a good point too, because I can think of people that I know that don't think about it like that. They wonder how I do it. How is it? But I've got a pretty good reason why, and I don't, I think it takes time to be reflective back into it and realize what you have, whether you're 20 years old, 25, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't matter. Uh, Realize what you have and be thankful about it. And if you want to be thankful about it, each day is another day. And you got to be thankful for that next day too. Because like you said, nothing is promised. Nothing is promised. Like you said, if we both make it to the end of the podcast, you're going to be, we'll be grateful. It's like, because you never know. You never know.
100%. Well, again, Jay, I want to thank you for sharing that time with me. I know that time is the most valuable asset we have. And for you to spend this hour with me has been a gift to me. And I know that the people listening to this will have taken a lot from it. Some perspective and, more importantly, hope that they can kind of live that life that they've been called into and not let things kind of weigh them down. Right? To walk through with faith and understanding that, even if it doesn't work out according to our plan, that it will work out according to a bigger plan and that everything will make sense in time. So again, Jay, I just want to honor you for sharing what you've shared. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for continuing to show up every day and for being a picture of possibility, because whether you realize it or not, you're inspiring a lot of people. So again, thank you tremendously.
You're welcome. And I'd like to add that maybe something to be thankful for is if you've got children, or do you want them to grow up in what way and how, and or you've got something else hopefully to live for, and take that into consideration as well, and I have 10 two-letter words I like to leave with a lot of people and that's, if it is to be, it is up to me. And they're very strong. If it is to be, it is up to me. I can't do your job for you and you can't do mine for me. So you've got to work on it yourself. And then the last one thing that really has been an important statement, I think, and I heard it many, many years ago, was, what lies behind us and what lies in front of us are small matters compared to what lies within us, within our hearts, within our heads. And need to take that every day. But thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it very, very much.
My pleasure. It's been an honor.